Today's guest started her financial journey staring down six figures in student loan debt. She made a decision to take full control, and over the next 5 years, she paid off every dollar, built a fully funded emergency fund, and purchased a home without taking on new debt. And her investment portfolio grew to seven figures. By day, she's a technical program manager at Microsoft, with a career that has taken her through organizations like JP Morgan Chase, Barclays, KPMG, and Google. For the past decade, her mission has been helping working professionals, immigrants, and women and families do exactly what she did: build worth with wisdom, purpose, and no shortcuts. She's the founder of Odunayo Ajayi LLC, the author of The Joy of Financial Freedom, Building Wealth with Wisdom and Purpose, and the creator of the Joy Circle, her private coaching community. Originally from Akure, Nigeria, and now based in New Jersey, she believes financial freedom is not a goal, it is an act of faithful stewardship. What's up, my financially intentional people? I am honored to be joined by Odunayo Ajayi. And we're going to talk about her book, The Joy of Financial Freedom, which is going to launch in just the next week or so. She's an amazing woman, and I think you're going to love getting to know her. So, Odunayo.
Got it.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Nasima. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
It's my pleasure. Let's get into your background. How did you get into the finance space? How did you get into this funny world of money?
Honestly, it's one of those ones that will go way back to just how I was raised. I was born and raised by my parents who were pharmacists, and then you would think that we should have a good understanding and a good grasp around money. As educated as my parents were, those conversations never happened growing up at home. And also, again, if you know Nigerians, you would know that we're very passionate about education. So I got exposed to all sorts of subjects, sciences, rich cultural background, amazing. You just experience growing up. Again, money never came up at home. Neither did it come up in school. So I grew up not really knowing much about, I observed my parents. And so I realized that beyond them doing their day-to-day work that was giving them some salary, they were also surveyed to put money aside towards real estate development. So that was their thing. They were buying houses. So we could see some of those physical things. But the thought that went into how they went about doing what they were doing wasn't really talked about to us. I wasn't able to learn from that experience. But fast forward all through my background up until when I probably graduated college, what I knew to do with money was you can put some money in savings, you can spend it. There was a time my sister was kind enough to buy my younger sister and I some shares. And so that was a little bit of ownership exposure that I had prior to me turning 25. And fast forward to coming to the United States to pursue an advanced degree and better life for myself and being closer to my family members who were here. That was when I started to now think about getting a student loan to do my master's degree program. That was my first introduction. As excited as I was like, here I am, I'm going to get my master's degree. I was very excited and elated about the admission, but I graduated with $72,000 student loan debt, and I was like, okay. And then my first job out of grad school was about $45,000, which meant I didn't have much to really blow around. So what I was able to commit to my loan at those beginning stages was just bare minimum of covering my interest, which was at the time about $400 a month. So I wasn't touching my principal. And this went on for, I'd say maybe about close to 4 years. So I was just barely covering my interest. I had paid up to about $20,000 at that point in interest alone. And my main loan was still sitting there pretty, not touched. So that was the frustration I just took in. And I was like, okay, something has to give. There's something here that I'm not really figuring out. And my dear friend, her name is Thierry, gave my husband and I a wedding gift when we got married. And this was the Financial Peace University kit was what she gave us. And in there was a book that Dave Ramsey wrote on a guide to managing money. And it was as if I knew that this was for me. I just devoured the book like my entire life depended on it. And as I was reading it, I was underlining things that we needed to do because at that time I was already married. So I was like, this loan has to go out of the way because at that time my net worth was in the negative with the loan coming out of grad school. I hadn't accrued as much in any kind of investment. So that's how we started. So read the book. Not only did we read it, we started to apply instantly. I went to my husband. I was like, listen, we need to start to walk through these things. And luckily enough, he came on board with me and we were aligned. And that alignment really sort of helped us because I can imagine if I'd come to him and was like, oh, that's none of my business, because he didn't come with any loan into the marriage. So he could have said, I don't know if that's my priority right now, but he was just aligned with me and we just clicked on it. So with that alignment, we're able to pay off that loan. And I think we started to increase our monthly commitment to it about $3,000 every single month. And we were focused and we took it out in about 3 years or so. After that 4 year of just wandering around. So we were focused, took it out. At that moment, the same vigor that we applied to paying off the loan, we started to apply to accumulation of our emergency fund. Then our children started to come into the picture and we started to think about their future right from there because again, we've been exposed to this knowledge and I started to accrue more knowledge as I continued to go through. After I'd gone through Dave Ramsey, I got exposed to FIRE through my brother and I started to dig into some of the Money Mustache. I started to dig into his blogs. Yeah, I got into his blogs and so many other people who were on the radar at the time. I started to learn one or two things and started to apply. We started to move from that negative net worth into a better light, and pretty much that's where it started. And I think last year I've learned one or two things that I want to start to make sure that somebody else who was in my shoe 10 years ago or more now, who I went through the school of hard knock to figure mine out, and I don't want somebody out there, my sister or whoever is out there beyond my sister, people I don't know, shouldn't have to go through that school of hard knock. Hence the reason why I put that book together so that people can begin to leverage it as a resource to not have to go through that and just make better decisions from the get-go.
I love all of that. And you shared some really, really key things. The first one I want to highlight, I'm going to work my way backwards, is that your husband fully came on board. And he wasn't just like, that's none of my business. That's your student loans. You figure that out. It's the true meaning of a partnership. And I always get so confused when people are married and they're just like, that's his money and that's my money. I'm just like, no, technically, in the eyes of the law, unless you write your own prenup, in the eyes of the law, you guys are one and your money is one. So you should be working together. But what happens is oftentimes, number one, people don't understand that. Number two, they don't have any financial conversations around it to come to an agreement. And for you to come to an agreement and to both be on the same page and aggressively attack your debt and then work on your other money goals moves the barometer exponentially. So I just want to give you kudos on that. I'm finding a good partner because Lord knows it's hard to find.
Tough. I'm telling you, Nasima, I didn't start out with that perspective going into that relationship. I had intended to do my own thing because I realized that my mom, when I looked at their model, they managed their finances independently. So I was thinking that was the way. Luckily enough, my husband had introduced us to a premarital counseling program. And it was at that program that a couple who were to facilitate the money management component of the program started to talk to us about how we should go in. It's also in the book where they highlighted the oneness perspective, and the illustration they gave us that stuck with me was, think about you guys coming together as a team. And when you come together as a team and think about your money as a basket, sometimes both of us work and money goes in and it's our money. And sometimes one person might be out of work for one reason or the other. It's still our money and vice versa. And so you just never know. You can't really plan it out. So having that oneness perspective helps. And so we left that session. Apparently, both of us came out of it knowing that we wanted to leverage that approach to move forward. So that's what changed my mindset in that regard.
I think that's genius. I love that. I love that bucket. I also like when you're married, you're only operating off of one income, because two incomes can be a definite trap. But have been married and been in partnerships, those are the things that really move the needle. But I know it probably triggered somebody when you said you were paying $3,000. You went from barely making $400 payments to $3,000 a month. People are like, nope, never mind. I'm not listening to her. She is not relatable. Okay. And I'm just like, girl, do you know how much money you spend in general? The thing is that most people just don't know, right? But you guys collectively sat down, put a plan together, and miraculously, you found all this money. And that was the same thing for me. I went from zero savings to barely making the minimum payments to now being like, oh, I have $4,000 a month extra to put it on my debt. And that's because I was just intentional. And that's the whole reason why that's the name of my platform, because I was intentional about looking at every money that touched any of my accounts, that they were going to work. And that shifted that. So I think people just don't take that time to actually look and see, if I just created a plan and put this at the top, that this is a goal that I wanted to meet, and then let everything else fall secondary to that, how much money they can actually put towards their financial goals.
I agree with you. I think the goal setting is number one. It's like figuring out what is that thing. Not multiple, because when you have multiple, sometimes it's okay, but it's helpful when there's a clear thing that you're looking to accomplish. Because for us, it was that loan. And I was like, what would get me from a negative net worth to at least zero, if not positive yet, but at least to zero, where we can now begin to. And that was like, okay, this debt has to go. So the moment it was a priority, then it was just easier to start to think, how do we make sure that majority of what we have on the plate helps us to tackle it as quickly as possible.
And I just want to highlight how eerie it sounds to me, because your story is almost exactly the same as mine, except I didn't stay eerie. Number one, the only exposure you had to investing was your parents kind of doing real estate, but they never talked to you about it. Number two was how you aggressively started attacking your loans and how much you were able to find every month. And then you kind of transitioned from this debt-free community into like the FIRE community. And that's almost the same verbiage I use. I use that same amount of aggressiveness that I used to pay off my debt in order to start investing and saving and doing all of those kind of things, knocking everything out. So I was listening like, whoa, this sounds like my story.
I could relate when I saw your story and also just saw what you've accomplished with the kids. I was blown away when I saw the video you did about the children. I was like, what? You've accumulated this for them? And even for yourself, given the fact that you started in your 30s to start to put that, it was mind blowing. I was like, oh my goodness, you make it so clear that sometimes when we think that, oh, it's too late. No, it's not too late. It's not too late. And see what you've accomplished in a space of maybe over a decade.
I was just thinking about this like an hour ago, and let me know what your opinion on this is, especially because you have a partner on board that if you can spend 20 something years destroying your finances or just being in a bad financial position, but if you could take 2 dedicated years in making sure that you do the things and work within your system, it'll totally reverse that and set you on a path towards where you want to be, right? I've seen that on average. Is that your experience too? Like 2 to 3 years? That's all that it really takes.
It's that change. It's the change in mindset. I think I was telling you, for me, the change in mindset was I was ignorant, but when the knowledge came, it just touched something in my mind to say, you know what, start going. So it wasn't like getting stuck about, oh, it's too late. No, it's like, when you're ready, it's now. Okay, then let's start moving one step after the other. And it's amazing to look back now in 10 years to see how much progress that has been made. So it's never too late to start.
Exactly. And the other thing that really stood out about your story is our parents didn't talk about money. It was like, that's grown folks conversation. And I'm sure it just wasn't a thing. I think, especially in me growing up, nobody talked about money. It's just something that you kind of figured out. So I want to know now, from where you're at, what do your parents think about your approach and what you've accomplished?
Unfortunately, my mom has passed on. She passed
Oh,
on
I'm sorry.
25 years ago. I really do miss her. I think if I were to think about her, just how wonderful she is as a parent, she'll be very impressed. In fact, I would imagine her joining a lot of the workshops I'm organizing and trying to learn what she doesn't, maybe what she doesn't know, or just maybe sharing the knowledge of what she might have accrued in this last 30 years. So that's what I think. My dad, on the other hand, he's in Nigeria. So he's not so ingrained into what I'm doing, but I'm looking forward to seeing him at the book launch and giving him the book. He's a reader, so I totally see him diving into it and asking me questions about it. But I think they would be very proud, because if I were to look at how they've journeyed and done their things, I feel like it's always, for every generation, you want to have an improvement over what your parents did. And I want to say that I see an obvious improvement, and I'm sure they'll be glad to see that.
Now, tell me if this is true. Now, I'm not Nigerian. I'm just a girl from Oakland. But a lot of the times, you know how you were so impressed with that video of me showing like kids and all that stuff. I get a lot of backlash, right? But it's from older Black women or Nigerian women who are like, oh, don't show your money, or like, you should not tell people what your kids have. You make them a target. And I'm just like, I don't invite that kind of energy into my space, and you shouldn't either.
It's very
There are
sad.
so many things we can be worried. I can walk outside and get hit by a car. That doesn't mean I'm not going to walk outside, right? If I know that what I do impacts thousands of people, then why would I let fear stand in my way?
Honestly, Nasima, look at it. That's exactly what I'm telling you. The mindset of not inviting children into those conversations, or that's why people like me grew up not knowing about it. I think we share that background. It's this culture of don't say, don't tell, don't say, don't tell. And how do you know if knowledge is not shared? How do you know? Even for me writing this book, I feel like I'm sharing a lot because it's not culturally something I'm used to doing. But I want to care less about the culture a little bit and just move out of that comfort zone and just let people just share the knowledge. I really am a big believer in sharing the knowledge so that people do not have to go through the school of hard knocks that you went through. You don't know. Maybe if it's just one person that's going to be impacted by it, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I just feel like those are the same people that'll be, well, my parents never taught me anything.
And they want to remain ignorant. Because when I saw the video of the children, I was like, that motivated me as a parent. It wasn't a competition. It was like, wow, it's possible for me to do this. And you mentioned the instruments that you're using to invest for them, the UTMA, the 529. For a parent who doesn't know anything about that, they can go pick it up and start to look up that and start to do it if they haven't started doing it for their kids. That's why those videos are out there, to help people, educate people. Unfortunately, some people would take their own piece away from it, but hey, keep doing it.
That says a lot more about you than it says about me. But as anytime I can take the opportunity to empower somebody else, that's what I'm going to do. I've always come from that school of each one teach one. We do not leave people behind. I'm not leaving my kids behind. My kids will not start from zero. I'm not gatekeeping. I don't gatekeep from anything. And I especially don't gatekeep from my kids. The second comment I get is, well, I would never tell my kids they have that amount of money. Well, why not? Because you're not educating your kids, because you're not educating yourself on how to actually grow and preserve that money for generations. I know what I'm doing right now will impact my family far past when I leave this earth. So why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't you? And then the power of education. Imagine us parents, we accrue all of these millions, right? We work so hard to accrue the millions. And then you hand it to children who are not empowered, who are not educated, to blow it up. I mean, what a risk we're taking, which is what has been happening with the current or the past generation, where they hand over a wealth to kids who are not empowered to take over. And you can imagine what could happen from there. Education is just liberating. It's liberating, but imagine having it at a very early age, having many years of practice. They step into adulthood confident, knowing who they are. Of course, maybe there will be some kids who will go haywire with it, but majority of the kids will be educated and empowered to know how to manage money early on, and it's going to be a part of their life. It's not something they're just trying to figure out later on.
Exactly. Let's talk about your book. First of all, I kind of figured out, you kind of alluded to why you wrote it. But again, talk about what impact you hope your book will have and who do you want to directly impact?
That is powerful. Like I said, I walked into this country over 15 years ago as a Nigerian, as an immigrant, as a professional eventually, as a mom, as all of the roles that we women carry. I want it to affect each and every one of those segments, the women, the immigrants, a professional who's just coming into a new country, who just doesn't know their left from their right, about how to manage their finances. They're figuring out, they're getting their first job, they've gotten the acumen, they're smart, but they just don't know what they don't know. So my hope is that they pick up this book and that it serves as a guide to help them navigate building the foundational framework that they need to put in place to start to manage their money so that they get that first paycheck, they know exactly what they need to be doing with it. And every mom as well too, because there are quite a number of moms who are already professionals and who are already working and are still trying to figure it out. I want this book to be a resource to them to start to say, hey, I want to pay off my debt. How do I pay it off? They read that guide, the chapter on the debt payment, and they're able to figure it out and start to apply and get it done. Or I want to amass my emergency fund. I really don't know how to navigate how to do this up. Read the chapter on that and they're like, okay, you know what? I know what to do and I can implement it. So it really is an implementation guide. The way I approached it, I didn't want it to only be where I'm just talking about my own experiences alone, which gives you the feeling that it gives you, but I wanted it to be practical in such a way that if people are trying to replicate what I've done, they're able to navigate through it and do it successfully for themselves as well.
I love that. And I know a lot of people that read personal finance books and just like, okay, that's fine, and then put it down and then don't do anything. How do you want your book to stand out, and what did you incorporate in it so that people can take action?
I think the approach that I put into the book itself was for every chapter I talked about the debt repayment, the debt process that I went through. I shared my story just to help one or two people who have similar connections to be able to resonate with that. But beyond that, I also shared implementation steps. So once you have a debt, how do you go about defining a strategy to start to pay it off? Leveraging things like your avalanche strategy or your snowball methodology. And I walk through specific details of how do you begin to identify what that debt is, creating your debt list, figuring out what it is, understanding what your interest rate that are associated with it. So literally you can begin to sort of write notes and start to implement. So there are implementation templates that are going to be provided. So I think one of the ways that sets my book apart is I'm launching the book alongside with a community, and that's the Joy Circle community. What I tried to do with Joy Circle was to create video versions of each of the chapters, at least majority of the chapters in the book, to help that person who is, I've read this book, but I really can still not implement it. They can come in to that community. In the resource component that holds the video, there are complementary resources and templates. So someone is trying to create a budget. There are budget templates in that community where they can download templates and start to create it. And same thing with the debt repayment strategy and some of the debt lists. They can download the templates of that and start to get to work to get it done. So for me, implementation was very big on my mind because I didn't want somebody to just read it and it's just like another thing they've read, but really take action and take actionable steps and use that particular joy, that circle as an implement. Think about it as an accountability partner. Because in my case, I had a physical accountability partner who gave me the gift that I had. And me and her were meeting every single month. And I would share my progress update. We defined our goals for the year. We would touch base how I'm going and we're sharing back and forth. So I felt that the community was needed where somebody who reads it might just be on their own. They could be a part of that community where like-minded people like themselves trying to go on this journey of financial freedom together. They get to use the resources there. They also get to have a community of people that can hold them accountable as they're trying to walk through any kind of goal on their journey through that process.
I really love that because people always ask, what's like that one thing? What can somebody do right now with their finances? And I think people always want me to say, create a budget. It's not that. It's really change your circle of influence. Change the messages that are coming into your head about money. And community is the best way to do that. I love that you had a friend. I hope I'm that friend for all of my friends, because that was my goal. That's actually how this platform started, right? I wanted to be that person. But for her to be able to meet with you so frequently, for you to bounce ideas off of her, that changes the level of success that you have, or the viability of you being successful, right? So I really love that. And I love that you have this community associated with your book. So how do people get access to that community?
So one of the ways to get access to it, as I launched the book on June 12th, the same day that the book launches, the community will also be launched. The community is on school.com. And so there will be a link that I will provision as I launch the book alongside with the community. So people can literally click on the link in my bio on Instagram and other social media platform and gain access to it. But what I could also do today as well too, is to share that link with you as well too, just so that once the publication of this podcast is ready to be published, that people can also access it as needed if they want to be a part of it from your side as well.
I love that. Thank you for doing that. And I'll put that link in our show notes so that you can click and right away get access to that. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So as far as how things are set up right now, you have your debt paid off, you have your emergency fund, you have your investment set up. What are next steps with you financially?
I think for me, financially, I want to grow my stream of income beyond my salary. I've been getting a nudging to explore real estate. And so I want to see what's in there and how to navigate that field. I've never really done so much. Most of my investments have been in the financial side of things, leveraging index funds. And I feel like it's good to continue to do that, but I am also looking at ways to diversify my streams into other areas so that you can continue to just grow it beyond my day income and just explore. Like, again, my business here is something I want to continue to grow, but also expand into potentially real estate as well. So that's my immediate focus, and just continuing to be a resource through this platform and just sharing and growing it beyond what I've been able to build so far. So those are the two immediate focus areas.
And what does financial independence mean to you? What is that looking in your life? Does that mean that you're not going to work and just focus on your business? Does that mean you're not going to do anything? You're going to just let your investments take care of you? What does that look like right now?
For me, financial independence really does mean that I have peace of mind, knowing that I have grown my income or my sources of income to a level whereby if my employer were to tell me to go today, that I would not be panicking and running helter-skelter. For me, that's where I want to get to. I've been able to build a foundational framework of just having the emergencies in place, have the investments going, and it's really built some level of peace of mind in that regard. But at the same time, I think taking it a little bit further, it's like if I'm doing any kind of job, either for myself or for any employer, it will be outrightly because I am passionate about doing that work, and I can decide to do it till I'm 90 or 100 or whenever I feel like doing it for. But it won't be because without that paycheck, I'm not able to survive. So it's like getting it to a level whereby I'm doing work that I love to do. It's just out of my passion, not because, oh my goodness, if I don't do this, I am not going to be able to survive. That's what that freedom means, the peace of mind.
I love that. I love that. It's like creating a life that you don't have to retire from because it's set up the way that you can fully live. So do you guys, both you and your husband, still working?
Yes, we are. We're actively still working. He's a public health practitioner. I'm a technical program manager in tech.
Okay. Do you guys have a date or a target where you would want to retire early?
Interestingly enough, my husband doesn't want to retire early at all. He wants to work till whenever he can keep going. For me, I have a tentative 50 date in mind to stop some things I don't care about and just really transition into things that I'm just full passion for me. So I have this 50 date, but who knows? Maybe I will do it beyond that. But I think for me, I want to continue to work because I feel I can't be seated not doing anything. But most importantly, it's just that freedom of mind that I can just be working on things I'm completely passionate about, not get into some job because I have to pay the bills. Sometimes that's why we hold on to some of these jobs.
Yeah, and I think that most people, when they think about leaving their jobs or wanting to quit, it's not that they don't like to work, because I think it's instinctual in us to want to be doing something all the time. Nobody wants to just sit around. I think what it is that they don't want the work to dictate their lives, and that's capitalism, right? It's like you have to be here on a certain time. Your kids are not a priority. You can't spend the time with people that you want. You're de-incentivized if you get sick or if you have a baby and you take time off, all those kind of things. And I think that's what people are like, I don't want to do this anymore about. It's really about making your work fit into your life and not the other way around, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, if you already have that, then it's just like, why wouldn't I do that? And that's the same thing I say about being a nurse. I love what I do. I love delivering babies, and I can structure it around my life. And if it's not serving me, or if I work somewhere where I feel the burnout or whatever the popular term is right now, I could just leave, right? Well, that's the optionality that comes with getting your finances to a place where that's no longer a concern. And so I like that plan for both of you, because it seems like you're very content.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's what we're praying for and working towards. So it's like you don't want that, particularly now that there's just a high rate of turnover in a lot of companies, and your employer says go away, and you're like, okay, so what am I going to do next? It's like just having your own financial, I would say, future and destiny in your own hands as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I know my video about the kids inspired you. So
Yes.
how many kids do you have? How old are they? And what are you doing for them?
I have two of them. 7-year-old, there's my first son, and then I have a 3-year-old who's like 3
so
going
you have
on
the
10.
same like me. I have a 7 and a 3.
Oh, look at that. For me, the boys, what I've been doing for them, I'll say my husband and I started to put some savings aside for them in 529 and UTMA the moment we gave birth to them. And I credit that knowledge to, again, coming into that gift that my friend Thierry gave to me. We had walked in knowing that that's something that we wanted to start for them. So we started to do that from birth. The funny thing about the UTMA was that they got a lot of cash gifts at birth from family members. And I was like, it would be nice for us not to spend this money. Nasima, you wouldn't believe it. I've only been adding probably $100 every month into that account for both of them after that lump sum, but it's grown to a significant amount where I just look at it now. I'm like, wow, it's such a good thing to teach them what this is about. And I started to teach my oldest and also the youngest too. Last year, Christmas, we bought for the first time some shares into their UTMA account, asking them what their favorite companies were, of course. So my oldest he wanted Netflix stocks, and then my youngest wanted Google because he loves some of the YouTube videos that he watches. So I was like, okay, you'd get Google stocks. So we bought just maybe 1 or 2 units of it and handed them physical stock certificates as one of their Christmas gifts. And it was so amazing. You just have to see the reaction of my oldest, which I didn't expect. It was like it taught him about ownership in a way that I couldn't have maybe explained to him in a theoretical way. He got it. And now when we talk about it, he understands it. It's like, okay, mommy, I'm looking forward to buying another company's stock. So the concept of ownership clicked. And for me, at that age, I don't think I was thinking of anything like that. So I just want to build up on that knowledge for them where they are aware of what it is, they understand ownership, and we continue to help them grow and just understand personal finance generally, stocks, and gradually. But we're still at the early stages. We're reading books to them, and they're getting it through books. And then also, of course, the fiscal stock thing really worked.
and also watching you, and you're going to have your book. But first of all,
Yes.
again, maybe you're my Nigerian twin. I didn't even know I had. Because I'm just like, first of all, our kids are the same ages, and like, how are we doing the same thing? I am an index fund girly through and through, but I wanted my kids to understand the concept of ownership. And I say, as soon as they're able to recognize, from 6 months on, my youngest knew that's McDonald's. Well, if you know that that's McDonald's, then you know you can own that. So we're not just going to shop there. If that's your favorite place, let me show you what the McDonald's stock symbol is, and then I'll give you a little bit of money every month to invest in, so now you can own it, right? So my two oldest ones, that's what I did. I would deposit $20 a month into their account, and I'd be like, hey, this is yours to pick whatever companies you're interested in. My oldest, it was Roblox, and then my youngest, she liked Tesla because I have Tesla. She wanted a Tesla too. I would be like, okay, well, y'all can compete. So every month I'll tell them, this is what your stock did. And that's how they understood it. Also, when it was time to pick their stocks, what I taught them is that a lot of people are scared when they see red next to that sticker symbol that the price went down during that time. I said, do you know what that means? It means it's on sale. Like when you go to the store and then they have that sale thing, that's what that means. So it's a little bit cheaper today. And so they be like, I'm buying on sale every time.
That's amazing.
So it taught them not to be afraid of when market dips. I get the calls all the time. My coworkers, oh my God, the market is crashing.
They're freaking out.
I'm seeing my balance is going down. And I'm just like, that's okay. Keep on investing, because now you're getting all those stocks that are on sale, and keep on going. Don't let that worry you. So that's ingrained in my kids, not to have that fear of volatility in them. And then they understand that that's baked into the overall growth that you get, because you can't have growth like that without having some kind of risk and exposure.
Some down moments. That's so powerful. At what age did you, I'm asking you questions now, at what age did you begin to introduce them actively to it?
It was about that same age. They're 4 years apart too. So it was 7 and 2. I think she was like 2 turning 3. That was when the baby was. So it was about 6 and 7 and 3. Yeah.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, let the people know that are interested where they can get the book, where they can find you and follow you. My Nigerian twin.
Nasima, thank you so much. If anybody's looking to find out more about me, you can go to Odunayo, Odunayo Ajayi.com, my website. And also my Instagram handle is Odunayo, Odunayo, Ajayi. And I have the Amazon links for the book as well that I can also share, so that you can probably follow along, as well as the community link as well.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you. And in a world where I often feel like an anomaly, it is so refreshing to talk to someone who is almost exactly the same as me.
It's amazing.
And not to be in the echo chamber, but to tell you that it's possible for people of all different walks of life. You could have been like, I'm an immigrant. I've only been in this country for 15 years. This is not something that I should understand. And so I'm not going to do it. Right. I could have been like, I'm divorced. I'm raising these kids on my own. I already have too much on my plate. I'm not going to do it. And everything we did in spite of. So I'm so encouraged by your story. And I know my listeners will be too. So I'm just super grateful for you.
I am, Nasima, and I must say this, not knowing you, but coming across your content, it was just a fresher breath here. I saw you, I see your children, the way you guys are so full of life, and I think I'm encouraged. It just really encouraged me on what's possible when you don't give up on yourself, when you just bury your head and just go ahead and do stuff. And when we see the results come out and you share some of those results, it's just mind uplifting for me, and it just encourages us, people in my community and everyone else who's coming across it, to just keep going and just keep doing and crushing it. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing those contents.
And thank you. Thank you for what you're doing and what you're contributing to this world, because we need more voices like mine and yours, because we know traditionally that's not how the finance industry has been. And I think it's intentional, but we are breaking down those barriers and increasing access. And so the more, the merrier. And I just love that you're out here sharing your story and that you're sharing this book. So I just really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Nasima. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course.